Hey guys, the UCAT season is approaching. We're now less than 2 months away for a lot of people. And I thought now's the time that people will get into the grind zone and really try and improve as much as they can in as short a time as possible. And whether you're just starting your practice now or you've been going strong for 2 years, I think everyone still needs to do that final grind at the end to really optimize their score. So here's a three-step framework talking about planning, practicing, and performing. 3 Ps that will help you improve your score in a short amount of time with the least effort possible. So the first step is planning. Try and work out what resources do you have left and what you want to do each day. For most people, term 2, SACs, it gets a bit tricky, but I would be trying to aim for at least 2 full-time sets a day. And so have a plan, Monday, VR, DM, Tuesday, DM, QR, Wednesday, VR, QR. Try and do at least one full exam each week, often on the weekend, and then distribute, sort of come up with a table and say, each day I want to do this amount for this many weeks, and this is all the resources I'll get done. Try and finish all the mini mocks because they're a good resource. I'm not super fast about finishing all the exams, but I think you want to do all 4 UCAT consortium practice exams, and you want to be doing, at least 4 to 8 exams on Metafile and entry. But you don't have to do all of the exams because there's quite a lot. Step 2, practice. Okay, so after you know what you want to do each day, then it's important to think about how to practice. In my opinion, low quality practice is untimed short sets, and the higher quality practice is generally long time sets. The reason I say that is because the UCAT is a time test, and my goal for practice is to emulate what the actual test will be like. And so I encourage students to essentially think how many minutes is the actual subtest, and that's how many minutes you should practice for timed. The downside of doing short sets, let's say of 8 questions, is if you get a really hard STEM, you're stuffed. Or if you get a really easy STEM, you'll do really well. And so you get even more fluctuations, and it's very hard to track your progress. Whereas if you do 44 questions for VR, you'll get the right balance of easy and hard. You can use skipping to redistribute the hard to the end and the easy at the start, and it should slightly be more stable. I think even people find they often fluctuate with the 44 question sets, and that's only going to be more extreme with short sets. So do your practice time. If you can't finish, that's a problem, and you need to know about that and work on that under time conditions. You're more likely to fix that doing time practice than untimed, and doing long practice than short. Okay, so full time sets in each of the section. Step 3, measure. You need to know essentially how you're doing and have a way of monitoring your progress to see if you're improving or if you're stagnating and staying at the same level. The mocks and the full mocks are good, but not great, because sometimes you get an easy mock and sometimes you get a hard mock, and they can fluctuate a little bit. But I think the percentiles are more reliable than the scores. But even on your general practice, I'd encourage you, after each practice set, try and do some writing. Okay. So what I'd have is I'd have a planner where I'd say, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. I'm doing sort of, VR, and I'm doing DM and QR. And then what you can do is then have a separate table where you essentially have a log and where you have your scores for each section, VR, DM, QR. And I'd like you to monitor at least what your score is, 25 out of 44. Or let's say you're really gunning for the top, and let's say you're already at 38 out of 44. How many you guessed? So maybe you guessed 2 questions. And then I think if timing's an issue, I encourage you to monitor how many times you're above my cutoff limit for that section, often 1.5 times the allocated seconds per question. Check out my rule of 1.5 video if you want more detail on that. But when you measure this, what you can tell is over time, what's your score doing? But more importantly, if you're still guessing questions, how many questions are you guessing? Because if you notice 5 sets in a row, you're guessing 2 questions, you need to try something different, because that's not going to magically fix itself. Okay, so plan out what sets you want, practice in full time sets so it's always reliable, the number of questions you're doing, and make sure you're measuring your scores and the number of questions you're guessing at a minimum in some sort of table. The next thing is review. Now, this is the most important part. If you just do more and more questions, you'll improve and then you'll plateau. And you'll plateau far short of what standards you need, often around the 70% mark. The reviewing is essentially asking yourself, why did I get this? Let's say, first of all, what questions to review, things you got wrong, things you spent too much time on, things that you guessed. How do you review? You're asking yourself, why did I get this wrong? What made me pick the wrong answer, but overlook the right answer? How can I do this faster in the future? What general and practical strategies can I use to implement? So, for example, in decision making, lots of people get the yes, no syllogisms or interpreting information questions wrong, but they'll just review them, be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, and then move on. You're going to make the same mistake next time. I try and label my mistakes with names so then I can look out for something in the future. So, for example, a classic thing is they'll say, like on a basic sense, if all humans are mammals, then the answer will switch it and say all mammals are humans. And so I say when I'm reviewing that, let's say I made that mistake, I'd be like, okay, let's call this one the switcheroo, where essentially in the stem they have it one way, in the answer they have it the other way. And now in the future, I'm looking for switcheroos, and they'll have 5 or 10 different names. So I can actually make that practical and look out for that in the future, rather than me just saying, oh, that was obviously wrong because it was different wording. Make it practical, and just remember, if you don't have some sort of takeaway, it's very likely you'll make the same mistake again. So I like funny names, but whatever makes you remember it, and keep it general too. Finally, is to sort of improve. So once you're doing all these things, you'll know what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. And so the next step is thinking, how can you actually address those weaknesses? Do you do some sort of research online? You work on a specific skill, like improving your speed reading with learning some strategies, or do you get some additional resources? I think the two main issues people have are fluctuating scores and plateauing scores, where they get to the 80th percentile and they're stuck and they need help to get to the 90th or 95th. Regardless of what you sit, where you sit, there are good resources out there for free that you can have access to. And the best place to go is the link in the description. Every week, I post a new PDF with some strategies for each section. And cumulatively, these should give you some new ideas on things to try. If there's no new ideas, then you lose nothing because it's all free and it's very easy to access. So I'd encourage you, check out the link in the description and then see for yourself what sort of these resources are and whether they help you improve your scores. Because don't stop. The higher the UCAT score, the better. And that takes a bit of a pressure off your sort of UCAT, your ATAR and your interview performance as well. So go as high as possible, put in as much as you can, and in 2 months, you'll be happy sort of to be done and finish with the UCAT. All the best with your prep. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, keep tuned with other videos, and I'll see you all next time.